Not already?
Getting in the car, starting around. When I first asked you, right down the road.
Oh, okay.
If you don't mind.
Hasn't been hardly anybody out there. I got to do that quick return.
I'm double checking, but don't worry about it.
Okay there. How are you?
We got you in your own private case.
5 o'clock, time for the regular schedule. Next grade school board member, June 4th, 2020. Mr. Danzy, will you lead us in the invocation?
I sure will.
Mr. Choir, will you lead us in the pledge?
Yeah.
Lead us to the United States.
You bow your head and pray with me. Lord, we thank you for this day and thank you for the many, many blessings you've given us and the school board. We just ask that we do what we need to do to keep for the children of this parish to further their education in accordance with what's needed. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Let's pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Rutherford, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Danzy.
Here.
Mr. McQuarrie.
Here.
Mr. Benefield.
Here.
Mr. Garner.
Here.
Mr. Harris. Mrs. Gedro. Here. Mrs. Willis. Mrs. Broadway. Here. Mrs. McGaskey. Here. Ms. Palmer. Here. And Ms. Phelps. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. A couple of things before we get fully engaged in the meeting. I listened to the rebroadcast Tuesday night, and it was very hard to hear a lot of comments. So if you would speak directly into your microphone, I'm guilty of it. So let's go ahead and speak into our microphone. Please silence your cell phone, any type of electronic devices that you have. Mr. Cozad, do we have any comments from the public on any agenda items?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. Anyone that's in attendance that would like to speak to an agenda item, please complete the form in the back of the room and pass it forward. Before we move forward, I'd like to thank Ms. Pat Rock and Mr. Mike Cozad for the website redesign that was done right before the shutdown. It served us very well with the functionality and what we needed it to do. It was very informative, it was very easy to use, the information provided was up to date. In fact, Mr. Cozad actually added a different, and Ms. Rock actually added a different feature yesterday. When you go to the submit a comment to the public, They submitted added a button, actually a link for the agenda to be right there. So they don't have to go to 2 different spots to look for the agenda. So it's constantly upgrading, and I just want to express my appreciation for what they've done to keep us up to date. At this time, I'd like to recognize the newest residents of Natchitoches Parish, Superintendent Eloy and his family, and turn it over to him.
Thank you all for being so welcoming, and it's been great so far. When we spoke Tuesday, nothing has really changed. We're still working on those same items. We're getting ready with Network Natchitoches. We're getting ready with curriculum teams and getting ready for whatever eventuality that next school year has to offer. And I can assure all the board members and the community that whatever the world looks like in the fall, we will be prepared for. So we're just excited to get started, and I think we have some things on the agenda tonight that are really important to us keeping that momentum going.
Old business, any old business? Mr. Garner had a report for us. Any updates on that, Mr. Garner?
No, sir, we will be having something to vote on next month.
Thank you very much. Any new business? Okay, we've all had a chance to look at the consent agenda. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll offer it.
Offer by Mr. Garner. Second by Mrs. Guidroz. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Dancy.
Let's see, item number 1, take appropriate action on bids.
There are no bids.
With no bids. Item number 2, transportation report. 2A, consider adopting Echo Ride's proposed reduction in contract cost of the 2019-20 school year. And Superintendent Eloy, do you want to expand or expound anything else on that?
All I'd say is, as we discussed the other day, Echo Ride, based on discussions with other districts and discussions with our lawyer, they have been great partners in this. The 26% savings is basically the average of what people are getting around the state. In some cases, we're doing a lot better, and I believe Echo has entered into that with good faith, and it is my recommendation that we should adopt their offer.
I'd like to offer 2A. Motion on 2A.
I'll second.
We accept.
Motion by Mr. Dancy, second by Ms. Broadway. Roll call vote, Ms. Reynolds, please.
Mr. Dancy?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Benefield?
Yes.
Mr. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. Guidroz?
Yes.
Mrs. Willis? Mrs. Broadway?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
And Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
Item 2B, discuss and consider entering into a new contract with Echo Ride prior to the close of the current contract. Superintendent, do you have anything else to say there?
Again, they've been with us in good faith. I think we can go back to the table and make this partnership even better. I think it's an appropriate time with it being the beginning of my tenure, and also with this COVID stuff and what they've done for us. And it's my suggestion that we enter into discussions on a new contract.
I will offer that motion.
I'll second.
Offer by Mr. Dancy, second by Ms. Phelps. Discussion. Question, do we want to put any items out for bid prior to a contract discussion with Echo?
I think that would probably be a good idea as well, and I'm not necessarily against that. The only thing I said, and I said this Tuesday, is they've been good partners, but we also, like we said, we want to get the best deal for the people of Natchitoches Parish as well.
Well, one of the things that Echo promised, well, I should say, alerted us to the fact that they are offering a savings. I talked to another board member as early as yesterday, and they said the same thing. They said the bids that came back from that former board was extraordinarily high. Echo came in with the best price, one of the reasons why the former board went with it. But I don't think we're doing the right thing if we don't enter into at least putting it out for bid and doing that quickly. And then at that point, we start entering into the contracts. Not that we don't want to enter into an agreement, it's just that we want to make sure we're doing the right thing.
No, I think that's the most responsible plan of action there is. So I agree.
So we have a motion on the table and a second to consider entering into a new contract with Echo. Do we still want to move in that, or we want to vote it down, or do we want to move forward and see how that works?
Can we amend it?
We certainly can at this point.
Well, I would amend it that we would take bids prior to enter into a contract with either company.
So your motion would read, Reverend Harris or Mr. Danzy, whoever's going to make that motion, that we're going to solicit bids for the new busing company. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can we have a time frame?
I think we need to put this to bed very quickly. Echo's been very, very gracious with what they're doing. I'm not leaning toward them, but we need to make sure that we're doing the right thing for all of us involved.
May I make a comment while we're discussing the contract? I understand that they're offering a lower bid, and in most areas there haven't been any issues, but I've gotten several complaints from several employees about employee treatment. I'm concerned about that. And there was a gentleman here to speak on behalf of employees on Tuesday, but he's not here this afternoon. And I would love for the board to have the opportunity to hear from those employees with ongoing concerns.
Definitely, and to your point, and I don't know what his specific concerns were, but I have spoken to all of the principals and they have voiced their concerns. And that's partially why I think this is an opportune time to have these negotiations, because although they've been good faith partners at this point, there's definitely things that we need to address and continually improve. And I want to address some of those things, but I think we can do that and still pursue this path.
And we need to be aware that the contract with Echo ends at what time, Mr. Elon? It's next June, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
So this is not
Right, June 2021, right?
We have a lot of time to work this out.
Okay.
So when there's no rush here, I think we're doing our due diligence by soliciting bids and working out the issues that you have just spoken about, Mr. McGinnis.
I appreciate your consideration.
And I also think this will put pressure on I hate to say it that way, but this will compel Echo to take care of some of those issues because they want to be partners with us. And so I think this is all good.
They'll all do the same, but not, I'm going to need to look at some of those.
Yes, ma'am.
I would like for us to see too, put the pencil to it, see if we release the bus ourselves and hire the drivers ourselves. I'd like to see what kind of money it would cost us, if there's any savings there or not. I'd like to see that.
We really probably should look at that, honestly.
Yeah.
We honestly.
And I'd like to see us look at it, because I hear a lot of, the drivers, we would own our own, just lease the buses like they're doing, just straight from one of the bus companies, and see what it would cost us if we would hire that many thing, and I think we'd have a better control over it. But if it's gonna cost us more money, no.
Well,
I'd just like to see.
Much like Red River, that's what they do.
I think there's two things at stake. We're wanting to save money, but we're also wanting to make sure that we have the most efficient product for the folks of Natchitoches Parish. And if we can balance those two things, I'm fine with either one.
Okay, Mr. Danzy, would you care to withdraw your original motion?
I absolutely will.
And so, Ms. Phelps, would you withdraw the second?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the new motion, and I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, would be do a cost comparison versus bids versus a hybrid system where us releasing the buses and hiring the employees. Okay. So who would like to offer that?
I would.
Now, Mr. Foshee, you're going to have to put this out for bid. How would you like us to word that to make that successful?
It needs to be put out as an RFP.
Yes, sir.
Request for proposals.
Okay.
And I'll second Mr. Harris's motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Harris, a second by Mr. Danzy Item B is no longer there. We've modified that to a study and quote for new buses, a new bus contract with other bus companies, and a hybrid system where we rent the buses and employ the employees. Okay, roll call vote on that, Ms. Rebels. Does anyone have any more discussion on that? Any questions? Yeah, we kind of sidetracked it.
I'll get used to it. Mr. Danzy?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Benefit?
Yes.
Mr. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. Gedro?
Yes.
Mrs. Willis? Mrs. Broadway?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
And Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
Item number 3, receive tax commissioner report. Mr. Poshie gave it to us in the committee meeting. Any questions or comments on that? Item number 4, received a budget update. Mr. Poshie gave that to us and has some other information on that. You want to present that now, Mr. Poshie?
Yeah, or you want me to wait till the shortfall number 6?
Okay, okay, number 6, yeah. Any questions on the budget update? Do we need a,
Yeah.
On both sides.
yeah, and I move that we accept the budget update.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. Motion, Mr. Danzy, second, Mr. Garner, to accept the budget update. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
Item number 5, we received the audit from Mr. Engel, Fortenberry and Ballard, and I move that we accept the fiscal year audit.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Danzy, second by Mr. McGuire, to accept the fiscal year audit report 2019-2020. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Foshee, before you get going, please, whatever you can do to get that report sooner than 10 months after the fact, it would be appreciated.
Item number 6, receive report on estimated budget shortfall for 2019-2020.
Okay, in your packet, you have a sheet that says General Fund Budget Review. And basically what I did is I took the information from the budget balance report to show basically we're at, the budget of 47 million, we've expensed 40 million year to date, and taking the difference between those and taking the encumbrance out, we have remaining a little over $7 million that can be expensed. Then I went in and did an estimate of our payroll that will follow. We'll have the June payroll, which includes a 12-month and our 9-month employees, and then we'll have a July and August payroll. That's our 9-month employees that we always have those that we incur in those 2 months. And the estimate, this is based off of last year's figures, was 2.1 million for each one of those. So you take all of those and add them up, you end up with a total remaining in payroll that we're expecting to expense is 6.9 million. Basically, so the difference in the budget and what you have left over to expense is just $193,000. Now, we have other expenses we're going to incur this month, and so I did an estimate on that. The other June expenses were a little over $1 million, and then from that $1 million, I'm going to subtract the difference in the budget because we had $193,000 still left to expense, and I've taken the ECHO savings that we have that they've given us, and also taking out the Strong Start refund where money's coming back into the general fund, and you end up with a net over budget of $40,000, which that's again, this is all kind of pie in the sky estimate. We still look like we're going to be over approximately that amount of money.
That's great, as opposed to where we were a month ago.
So it's better than where we were. But again, this is all based off of estimates and last year's figures, so keep that in mind. Then I just looked at the revenue figures too, and we have a remaining revenue of $3.4 million of basically money we've taken in that we haven't spent yet. We're estimating June revenue of 4.8 million, so we should have an end of the year revenue of 8.2 to apply against the salaries and wages and things like and other expenses.
Okay. Much better. Much better. Thank you for that update.
You're welcome.
Would you like a motion on that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So I move that we accept the estimated budget shortfall.
Have a motion by Mr. Dens and a second by Mrs. Gedros. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Item number 7, receive a report on items and facilities repaired in our system. Benfield.
Superintendent Eloy and Ms. Boshi got together and submitted a great report for us. I'd like us to see that every month. In addition, I'd like to see what's on their calendar, what's on their whiteboard that hasn't been completed and on the horizon moving forward. I think that's something the board really would like to see as far as expenditures and what we're doing. So when someone calls and says, hey, this is not being repaired, so we said, you know what, you're absolutely right, but we see it, it's on the horizon, it's going to happen.
So monthly maintenance report.
Yes, sir.
I told Mr. Jocelyn that.
Great.
Any other comments?
Yeah, because we surely get calls.
Item number 8, discuss the use of CARES Act money and implementation of the Network Nactus plan. Mr. Eloy went through that in detail. Have anything else?
Just when we went to the table, the main word that we used over and over again was equity. We want to ensure that every student in Natchitoches Parish has access no matter what the COVID situation is, and I think the biggest outcome from that is our one-to-one devices and the one-to-one devices for teachers, and what that's going to look like is for all students. So it's a big deal. I think it's a giant leap forward for education in Natchitoches Parish, and I believe we did it with equity, and then our second 1A, 1B was safety, and we're putting a lot of measures in place for schools to ensure that students are as safe as humanly possible during this COVID crisis. So I feel between those two things, we are really doing the best we can for the students at Natchitoches Parish.
Thank you.
Board members, at this time, I'd like to suspend our rules and add an agenda item. Mr. Foshee alerted me to the fact today that we had something that just came in, and it is the repair of the Markville parking lot, and he would like to consider us allowing the solicitation for bids for the Markville parking lot reconstruction and overlay. We want to get this done before school. Can't do that by waiting till July. So I'd like to suspend our rules and add an agenda item. Do I hear a motion to add an agenda item?
I'm offered.
I'll second.
Okay, and was that Reverend Harris offered? I can't hear what that meant. We have an offer from Reverend Harris and a second from Ms. Broadway to add an agenda item. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Well, we're discussing a repair of parking lots. You know, we had discussion in the previous month's meeting about the parking lot issue over at LP Fund.
Yes, ma'am. Any opposed? The motion passes. Okay, now we're just adding an agenda item. The agenda item will be to consider allowing solicitation for bids for the Markville parking lot and reconstruction overlay. The engineer's developed plans. He's ready for the bid process. We need to do this and do it quickly instead of waiting until July to complete the work before school starts. Do I hear a motion to allow bids for this reconstruction and overlay? Ms. Gedros made the motion. Ms. Broadway has seconded it. Roll call vote, Ms. Rebels.
Mr. Dancy.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. McGuire.
Yes.
Mr. Benefield.
Yes.
Mr. Garner.
Yes.
Mr. Harris.
Yes.
Mrs. Gedros.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis. Mrs. Broadway.
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey.
Yes.
Ms. Palmer.
Yes.
And Ms. Phelps.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Ms. McGaskey, I didn't want to cut you off, but we were right in the middle of that motion.
I'm sorry.
So
I was just eager to get it.
No, that's fine. And Mr. Foshee, can you catch us up on that?
Yeah, we've gotten a price for the gravel for that lot, and it was a little over $10,000, so we've asked the guy to go back and look at it and get it below the 10. And once we get there, then we should be okay to go ahead with having the gravel put down.
Thank you, Mr. Ocean.
So it's been worked on, it's just not completed yet.
Will the gravel be sufficient to resolve that problem rather than paving, or is that too expensive for us?
Long-term paving would be the best solution, and, but it's.
So we might have to look at that in the near future.
Yeah, one of the things I thought of
Consider
is,
the cost.
once we get through, going through the bond money with all the projects that we have, if we have any left over, look at maybe doing some asphalt over there. And everything.
Okay.
So that would be something we come back later and do. But that's, based on what we did on the junior high parking lot, you're probably looking at, to asphalt that area where they're parking, you're probably looking at, I'd say $100,000 or so, just based on the size of the lot and everything.
Thank you all, definitely. Submit a reminder on that if we have the monies available.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Dancy.
Item number 9 is something that just came up in the, I don't know if you read your email, we just received an email on it where the legislature is going to take up a consolidated sales tax collection. That's going to be on the agenda, and we need to send something to the House Bill number 14 in very quick response, and I will read this to you. Natchez Parish School Board Resolution regarding House Bill number 14, 2020, first ordinary session. Whereas the present Constitution authorizes the governing authority of any local governmental subdivision or school board to levy and collect sales taxes on the sale at retail, the use, the lease or rental, the consumption and the storage or use of consumption of the tangible personal property on sales of services as defined by law, if approved by a majority of the electors voting thereon in an election held for that purpose. Whereas the present Constitution requires all political subdivisions to exercise the power of taxation under authority granted by the legislature. Whereas the present Constitution requires all political subdivisions which levy sales and use taxes within the parish to agree among themselves to provide for the collection of their taxes by a single collector or central collection commission. Now therefore it be resolved that the Natchez Parish School Board prays to reject the proposed constitutional amendment proposed by House Bill number 14 that changes the Constitution to authorize central collection of said taxes and submission of an amendment to voters at the statewide election to be held November 3rd, 2020. Which this means that our local collection base will be no more if, if it passes, it's strictly be in Baton Rouge. So that's a concern, and that's, I offer this motion to present to our legislature.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mr. Danzy and a second by Reverend Harris to submit a resolution to our legislators in Baton Rouge opposing House Bill 14. Little discussion here, Mr. Danzy. Could you clarify the difference between the local collection and the state collection, and how that would affect us?
The state collection is, their main focus is at the rate today is 4.45%. And what they're saying that our percents vary, whether it's in city or out of city. We collect our own taxes now, they're remitted to Natchez Parish School Board, so forth. What this would do is the state would collect the money, and then we would get the money remitted to us, which seems a little bit problem there. Just as I have been around business for a long time, I see it to be somewhat of a problem, because if you got no stake in it, you really don't care down the line. And that's my suggestion on it.
I would like to add an amendment to that motion, if it pleases the board, that we need to send this proclamation to Representative Kenny Cox, Michael Furman, and Rodney Shamahorn, as well as State Senators Louis Bernard and Jay Luno tomorrow morning, because this action could happen as early as next week. They're calling it an extraordinary session, they're not calling it a special session, so whatever's happening is gonna happen quick. And so, if it pleases the board, I'd like to add that to that motion.
Great.
Any more discussion? Okay, roll call vote, Ms. Rhodes.
And this is with the added, information.
Mr. Danzy?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Benefield?
Yes.
Mr. Varner?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. Udro?
Yes.
Mrs. Willis? Mrs. Broadway?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer? Yes. And Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
That concludes finance, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Dancy. Mrs. Page, you provided some information Tuesday night. You have a small update in the packet?
What are you talking? No, sir.
Thank you, Ms.
We
Page.
have some more unemployment claims. That's
And
it.
Superintendent Eloy talked about a director of operations and a director of academic positions. Anything further to expound on that?
All I would say is, a few months ago now, I don't know how long it's been exactly, but y'all chose me as the superintendent. You asked for change. You asked for something different for this district. You asked for improved outcomes for our students. This is my first step in providing that, and I just ask that you trust me in that process and that you give me these positions that I think are necessary for us to accomplish our vision.
Do I hear a motion offering number 2 and number 3 on the personnel report? Ms. Gidros makes the motion,
I'll second.
and Ms. Broadway seconds the motion. Ms. Rebels, one more roll call vote.
I got
Okay.
a couple of questions on it. Is these two positions gonna be advertised or one day?
Yes, sir.
So I didn't know if it was advertised, and then we would just naming the other positions or whatever.
We would definitely advertise.
Good question.
And they were at no additional cost, correct?
Correct. If we do it the way I had detailed to y'all.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call vote, Mr. Rhodes.
Mr. Danzy?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Benefield?
Yes.
Mr. Varner?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. Udro?
Yes.
Mrs. Willis? Mrs. Broadway?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
And Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. The executive report, Reverend Harris.
Consider dates for LSBA sponsored superintendent and board retreat. Mr. Benefield.
Does anyone have any dates established, or we just want to communicate this by email? Let everyone get a chance to look at the calendars, because I know this summer is going to be a little hectic. Got a lot of people moving around, economy's opening up, and those things that were put on hold for the summer may be available to you, so do we want to do that by email?
I think that's a good idea. The only thing I would like to say is, because when I look at the calendar, I see we only have so many work days before the school year starts.
That's right.
If we could do this on a weekend, I think that would be great, so that way we're not taking away from the business of the district during the week.
That's a good point, and a lot of us would have a little more free time.
And
Okay,
it's gonna be, with the LSBA,
we're going to have the LSBA lawyer with us, and we're also going to do some further education.
And what might need to do is, ask them for some dates, what they would be able to do, and then throw it back to us, that way we wouldn't sell a date, and then they say, well, we can't do it.
Well,
If they're gonna be helping us out, let's see what dates they got, and then.
What I was going to do is get 3 or 4 and say, hey, what works for y'all?
Yeah, and we'll work with it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's good.
And it, Saturdays ain't gonna, make me no difference.
Reverend
Next month is going out.
And those are my work days.
Wait, now, does that mean you don't work Monday through Friday?
Those are the ones that, I can't say I can't do it.
It's okay. It's okay. But
hopefully, I won't have to do that, please, Lord.
Well, and I can also say, we work extra hours during the week to allow for Fridays as
Okay.
well, so during the summer months.
That's right.
So Friday is also available as well.
Not a bad idea. Okay. Reverend Aaron? Item 2.
Oh, I have to,
We're stuck here for a second.
That's all right. Receive a report from Superintendent Eloy on dual enrollment progress.
Yeah, like I said, we had great conversations, and we have someone, I'll just highlight, Ms. Pinkney is spearheading that. It's her passion, and I think we're going to get it done sooner rather than later. So we're excited, and we can update y'all as that process continues.
That's great, and exciting news. If anyone wants to doubt how fast and how furious and what's happening in this parish, just look at what's happened in last 45 days, I should say. Reverend Aaron.
All right, great. Consider approving an alternative calendar, the event of the governor's closes school for the 2020-2021 year.
So you received a calendar B, a calendar C. One takes 16 days, one takes 19 days. If we are out for any significant length of time, I would just ask that we would already have a calendar in place to revert to, and we would only do this if we were out for any length of time during the school year. So we want to keep the current calendar, but have this as a contingency.
Any ideas, board members?
From an operations standpoint, which would be the easiest for you to work, put it that way?
My suggestion would be the 19 days, because I'm purely looking at, we've already missed 2.5 months of school. If we're out for, say it's only 5 days a week, I personally would rather revert to that, because I just think we can't necessarily estimate how much of a loss we've had. So I would rather go to the more days given back to us.
Okay, and so what would trigger that? What would be those factors that trigger that? I know it's not attending school, but how many days, or what would it be something from the governor, from the Department of Education, or a combination?
Well, LDOE has asked us to be flexible with our schedule, so that's item 1. And we are expecting, as I told y'all Tuesday, some more information from Superintendent Brumley the week of June 22nd, which will tell us a lot more. But really what we're talking about here is probably something more along the lines of a few things. A second wave of COVID that gets us out of phase 3, where we're going in the opposite direction, which again, we hope that's not the case. But then also, as we look at the weather this coming week, if we have a hurricane, if we have any sort of situation that gets us another week out of school, specifically before state testing, which is probably would be the case, because state testing, their LDOE is looking at pushing that as far back as possible, which is great news. But if that happens, I think honestly, if we lose a week, and I know there's probably some folks out there saying, no, don't take away my days, but if we lose a week, I think we have to look at not just giving back a week, giving back more. So that's where I look at that 19 days, because again, we're starting off the school year saying we're not going to add hours to your day, we're not going to add days to your week, we're not going to take away any of your vacation, but we reserve the right, if we lose a week or anything more than that, we are going to take those days back. And I feel like that's kind of the compromise between us and the educators.
Okay. Superintendent Eloy has recommended a 19-day calendar.
I make a motion that we accept calendar D2.
I'll second
if we need that B2 to be used during the school year.
We have a motion by Mr. McGuire and a second by Mr. Garner to accept the calendar B2, which is a 19-day recovery calendar. Board members, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Never asked for myself.
Sure.
You had a question?
I have a thought.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you over there. No, I'm serious. I mean, I'm looking at a bar right here.
My only thought was, one of these calendars leans more towards additional time off in the fall. One of them leans more towards additional time off in the spring. And I wondered if it wouldn't be more wise to maintain both of these calendars depending upon when the school outage occurs. If the school outage occurs earlier on in the school year, it may make more sense for us to go with C2, that we got the wrong one, B2, because that's the one that is allowing for more makeup time in the spring, as opposed to C2, which kind of takes that week away in the spring. So that was kind of my thought. Would it be possible to maintain both and to use the one that makes the most sense given the situation?
Yeah, and I think we have the flexibility to do
And I thought that's what we said, Tuesday.
Well, so what I think to your point, I think what we can do is we can adopt both as contingency
Yes.
plans, and then say we have a hurricane in October or September, then we come back and we get a little more granular in our discussion, but we already have those in place ready to go.
And that's what I'm kind of leaning towards, honestly, if we can just maintain them both.
I think that's
the
a good
one
idea.
that makes the most sense for our
Okay,
situation.
we just had a motion, the second, and passed the same agenda item. We need to repeal that motion and successfully repeal that motion if this is the wish of the board, and say we're going to maintain our options with either one of the calendars based upon timing. Do I have a motion to repeal? And the motion was made earlier by Mr. Gaudreau.
Mr. Martell,
I would be,
No, you made it.
yeah.
Okay. Would you perhaps like to repeal that?
Yeah, I make a motion to repeal it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we're going to vote to repeal the initial item, agenda item we just passed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And please, Ms. Broadway, speak up. I'm looking at you right through this bar. Okay, now, Ms. Broadway, can you state your motion?
I would like to make a motion that we maintain both calendars, and we can use the one that seems to best remedy our situation for any eventuality with school closures.
Thank you. Any second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. McSwire. Now, I think we're going to get it right this time. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. Broadway, for bringing that up.
All right, number 4 is adopting an employee social media policy.
I think for those of you who are on social media, you can see, you've seen how divisive it can be and how easily information that is not appropriate in any forum is being shared by folks. And what we want to do, we do not want to censor. We do not want to make employees feel that they are in a fascist regime, but we do want to control the image of Natchitoches Parish School Board and make sure that our employees are putting the best image forward. And I think that's important in this day and age. I think it's important for changing culture, and I think it's important moving forward with all the things we're doing in Natchitoches Parish.
We have a sample social media policy. Do I hear a motion to adopt that social media policy? Is this something that we may need to discuss further?
Well, I just,
I know that it's not in its entirety, there's a lot of,
right.
once we get a motion on the table, and then we get a second, then we can do that.
I move that we move forward
To adopt a,
with adopting the policy.
okay. Now, Ms. Phelps has made a motion.
I'll second.
Reverend Harris has seconded. Now discussion.
I feel like we should possibly get a committee together to review every line on here, because maybe there's some things we could add, possibly. And I don't know if anyone else feels passionately about it, but we definitely need one. And this is a great start, but maybe we could edit and add to.
Agreed, and I actually today, it was sent to me at 3 o'clock, I was sent another policy from our lawyer. So I think that's a great idea. We could have a committee and I could provide y'all with those additional copies. The only thing I would ask is if we could put somewhat of an urgency on it.
Absolutely.
Because just in the 2 or 3 days since I proffered this, we've already had some issues that I feel a policy is necessary for.
It's definitely a growing problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Mrs. Phelps, will you table your motion until such time as we form a committee to establish a firm policy?
Yes, I would like to table my motion.
Okay. When will we call that meeting, and will we vote on it in July, or will we need a special meeting?
I think, I'm gonna be honest with you, we need to do this as soon as possible.
I agree.
Not, we're gonna run into some stuff, it's gonna start some stuff.
That's what I'm talking about,
It
the
would
urgency.
definitely warrant a special meeting in my eyes, but I feel like we need to pay some attention to this and not just
Yes, ma'am.
pass a blanket policy without a lot of thought
Right,
into it.
right.
Exactly, but again, that, what Reverend Harris was referencing to, I just want to make sure the urgency is out there for the rest of the board members that we may have a special call meeting to adopt a social media policy.
And let me qualify my idea of urgency. With the pace that we're talking about of things happening in the social media, specific to our district, I'm really looking at 1 or 2 weeks maximum, if possible.
Yes, I agree.
Right.
I totally agree.
Okay, motion tabled by Mrs. Phelps.
So do we need to form a
I
committee
do.
Yes, ma'am.
tonight, right now?
And Reverend Eloy.
They called me.
Reverend.
Not Reverend.
We got Reverend Eloy and Superintendent Harris. Okay, who would like to serve on that committee?
I would.
All right, we got 1, 2, anyone on this side? Ms. Phelps, would you like to serve on that committee? I mean, Ms. Palmer? I called everybody the wrong name, I don't know what it is. It must be the mask.
I didn't want to raise my hand. No. I do have a question. What about the students? Because I've seen some where students in Northwestern have been getting
Correct. I think.
corrected, because of things they've posted.
Mhm.
So, like, how would that affect students?
We have some social media guidelines for students already in policy, but I think you're correct. If we're doing this now, then it's a good time to make sure that policy is also up to date and has the proper teeth to it to take care of these situations that you're referencing.
So should we have some students on that committee? Because they see things.
They know more about it than we do.
I promise you they do.
But as far as the etiquette and the rules, I'm not so sure they know those.
Correct.
Well, and that's what we're trying to establish.
Right. So we're not looking to them for legal opinions or etiquette.
Absolutely not, but they know things and they send things through different channels that we.
I think it'd be important to, if you're talking about the students, some folks maybe from the high schools,
Yes.
some teachers from the high schools, some of the principals, administrators, because they are dealing with this on a daily basis, whether we talk about social, cyberbullying, or just the back and forth that occurs constantly, and those issues are brought back to the schoolhouse. So I think to Ms. Palmer's point, this is an excellent time if we're talking about the adults. We probably need to be talking about the kids as well.
Superintendent Eloy, can you pull together a committee and make this happen?
A committee outside of the board members?
Well, you've got 2 board members.
Okay, yeah, we can get some folks by Monday morning. We'll have people together. If y'all want to meet, we can figure all that out via email.
Excellent.
Sounds great.
Consider approving consolidation district social media sites and discontinuing other sites.
So as we talked about Tuesday, this is an effort to just be a little more streamlined, a little more consistent, professional in our approach. And we're not just saying social media here, we're kind of discussing marketing in general and having the image we want to portray. Again, I want to thank Ms. Broadway and Ms. Phelps for all they've done in that regard, and this is just kind of the next step we feel in putting our image out there.
All right.
So do we have a motion to do that?
I move that we approve the consolidation of the district media sites and discontinuing oversights.
Second.
Okay, we have, all right, which one again? Ms. McGaskey. Okay, offered by Ms. Phelps, second by Ms. McGaskey on item 5 to consolidate the district social media sites. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Consider adopting superintendent proposal for summer school.
Okay, just to reiterate, this is summer school for 2 weeks at the end of July. It will include 8 teachers. We'll have no cost as far as transportation, no costs for feeding, because this will be a completely virtual program. We will be lending out devices to those students who need it. It's approximately 136 students, and this will not only help them to not be retained, but it will also help us troubleshoot summer school for the district. Troubleshoot virtual and remote learning for the district prior to the 2021 school year.
We have a motion by Mrs. Broadway
Second.
and a second by Mr. McGuire to adopt summer school as per Superintendent Eloy's recommendation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
7, discuss cultural diversity training.
So I just want to say, and I hope I'm not embarrassing her, I spent the afternoon with Ms. McGaskey, and I thought it was extremely fruitful. But I think what we came out of that with was some good discussions. But to our point on the social media policy, I think this may warrant possibly having a committee on that. I don't want to step on any toes by discussing or instigating board business, but I think because me and Ms. McGaskey came up with so many good conversations, but I think we would have an even more robust conversation if we include others. And I think this is the point, especially considering the context, when we could start to bring in some students, some teachers, and some community members on this issue.
Okay. This is a no action item, but we appreciate it. Ms. McGaskey, can you give us your perspective of the afternoon?
It was very interesting. Well, we had 2 meetings. One was with the coordinator at Weaver.
It's Armetrius Williams.
And I was made aware of, and we discussed it in-house disciplinary projects that were working very well. They're impressed by them, and there was a discussion about having them to be added at other schools. I think it's going to make a great difference as far as the eliminating and reducing suspensions and expulsions. That is our goal, and we were totally in agreement on that. Mr. Eloy and Ms. Linda was there with us too. And as I said, I would like for the board to, because I wasn't, and I'm sure some of the other board members are not aware, that it was one of the project was actually initiated by Ms. Bennett. And it's really interesting because, as I said, my heart is in same as his, as far as us wanting to keep children in school. That's our goal, because when they're suspended, there's nothing but trouble in the streets, so to say. And then the next meeting was here at the central office in regards to cultural diversity training, and that was along with Ms. Brock.
Ms. Rachel, I'm sorry.
Ms. Rachel, I'm sorry. And we had a very interesting conversation of just having a discussion about cultural diversity and the factors. There was a list of measures that they wanted to be included. And we also talked about not only just the school employees, but the community at large and students being involved. We have to look at all the people, because as Ms. Eloy stated, you're going to get a different response and perspective from people based on what their position is in the community. And so I think it would be a plus for us to have as many board members included and some stakeholders, committee members of the school, and that way we can get an idea as to what we need, because this is something that needs to be addressed. Everybody's culture should be respected, and I think we need to learn, and that way if you learn about a person's home environment, and you learn more so about their upbringing, and know that, you know, we do have differences, but the best is to learn how to respect those. So there are resources that we can look at and other surveys that are available out there, but one that is gonna be, that'll work for us, that we need to help address, and ongoing training as far as cultural diversity. You just can't have a training one time and think that people are gonna change, because some people have embedded ideas or opinions that are totally untrue because they don't know. And if you take the opportunity to really get to know people, I think that the kids do a very good job. Kids do well together. I think when we start interfering, that's where the problem comes about. And so it's just good for people's to know about cultures and why some people react, what factors, what the environment, things that have to deal with at home, outside of school, that cause you know, children to react. And my concern was that, back to the problem kids, is that we look at the project, I think that, and I can't recall the name of it, but I'm going back for a minute.
BBLC, Behavior-Based Learning
Yes,
Centers.
and it works very well with the initial one where they have to be in it for like 4 weeks, and the kids have to, each teacher has to sign off. There's 4 factors that they have to meet, and if there's an issue with them at the end of the week, you know, kids, when you allow them to, and you know that they have consequences, and then there's going to be a prize at the end of the week, they're going to make an attempt to behave better. And that's just like the 7 stone, that particular project there. There is another intense project there, whereby it's for children that have ongoing behavior issues, and it involves a committee that's made up of the counselor, the teacher, the parent, and then they bring in other entities if they're required. So I think that we have something really practical in place that's going to work for and help keep the kids in school. I'm just really, I think it's wonderful. I think it's going to work for us. I think it's going to make a drastic difference. And with the cultural diversity, I just hope that more of us will get involved and look at the survey and have some input, and then we move forward on, because this is some ongoing training that we need, especially for new teachers.
That sounds good, and with the person that Mr. Eloy selected to help us guide through that, I think it's a great option.
So, and just to reiterate, Ms. Rachel has taken this project and she's just running with it. It's a passion of hers, and she is going to have the draft for any board member who would like to view that on June 11th, which is coming up quick. And you can review those questions, and there's going to be 2 surveys, one for the community, one for the school staff. And then once we have those findings, that'll kind of give us a roadmap to go from there. So we're real excited about that.
Sounds good.
But on a separate note, thank you, Ms. McGaskey, for filling my day the other day.
You're so welcome.
All right. Consider approving the resolution becoming Bessie members for the election of the new state superintendent of education.
Thank you. There's a typo? Yeah. It's okay.
Just so we can go.
Yeah. We, LSBA, Dr. Pope sent out a resolution commending the members of the Bessie Board for the selection of the state superintendent of education. And I'd like to read it to you. I had it in your packet Tuesday, but it wasn't on the agenda and so we added it. I hope everyone had a chance to read it. Whereas for the first time in almost a decade, the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, or BESE, has elected a new state superintendent of education. Whereas BESE elected Dr. Kay Brumley as the new state superintendent on May 20 of 2020. Whereas Dr. Brumley is immediately qualified, having successfully led the DeSoto Parish School System and Jefferson Parish School System. Whereas BESE showed commitment to public education and the people of Louisiana by electing Dr. Brumley. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Natchez Parish School Board expresses its sincere gratitude to Tony Davis for supporting the selection of Dr. Brumley. Be it further resolved that the Natchez Parish School Board commends Tony Davis for having the courage to put candidate qualifications and public opinion expressed in the survey commissioned by BESE ahead of the urgings of powerful political forces. And I would like the Natchez Parish School Board to offer a motion to send this resolution to Tony Davis and the BESE Board for thanking them for putting the children of Louisiana first as opposed to a political movement.
I'll offer.
Second.
Got an offer by Reverend Harris and a second by Ms. Bromley. I'd like to have a roll call vote, Ms. Rose.
Mr. Dancy?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Littlefield?
Yes.
Mr. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mrs. Vedro? Yes. Mrs. Willis? Mrs. Broadway?
Yes.
Mrs. McGaskey?
Yes.
Ms. Palmer?
Yes.
And Ms. Phelps?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you, board members. Ms. Rebels will get this out tomorrow. Any comments or any questions we may have?
And I want to, again, invite everyone to the I Can't Breathe protest, which will include a plethora of organizations as well as our city officials, our parish officials, to Monday at 7 o'clock on the court steps downtown. And it's a peaceful protest. And I hope that we, as a board, support the fact that what our Pledge of Allegiance is, that one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's the key. And that's what we are soliciting everyone to be a part of.
Thank you, Reverend Harris. I just want to thank you for the invitation and let you know that I will be in attendance with a group of educators because we want to let our students know of Natchez Parish without being political that we value all students of all backgrounds and we want them to feel safe and valued in this district.
Thank you so very much.
Okay, board members, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Second.